Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And just like that, we're off and running with another brand new live edition of Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. With Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Happy Tuesday morning, everyone. 256-576-4977 will get you into the program this morning. That's the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. We want to hear from you. Yesterday, we heard from a lot of you, and we heard a lot of you on Twitter as well. We asked for grade performances from Alabama and Auburn's performances over the weekend. 58%, Drew, gave Alabama a C in their performance against Florida. 59% gave Auburn a B in their performance against Penn State.
Well, it's obvious with those results that there wasn't a lot of confidence that Auburn was going to win if they gave him a B in a losing effort.
Yeah.
I think that's fair with Alabama, even though I think it's really more of a B or a B minus because, again, and I guess it's just the expectations, but you can't give a C for a win on the road in the SEC at the Swamp. Hello? That's not what you do. I mean, I guess you can be fair. It's fair to say that's for the defense. I think the defense does deserve a C effort. I think I said that yesterday. But the offense was a B to a B plus because they scored 31 points in the Swamp. So
overcritical maybe of the Alabama win.
Completely overreacting, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, acting like they lost, which is absolutely stupid. They could because they didn't. Alabama won the game, okay? They didn't play up to their standard. We understand that, okay? But they won the game. Stop acting like they lost. That's ignorant and stupid. And so they won the game. They won in the Swamp. They won 8 in a row over Florida. And 15 years ago, if someone had told you that, you would have thought they were on drugs. Okay? So never, forget what it's like and take winning for granted and what it's like to be mediocre because it can happen again.
Yesterday, Nick Saban, we've got a lot of intensity right out of the gates on our show. Nick Saban talked a lot about intensity yesterday when he met with the media.
Well, I think, you train yourself to do that, and you have to train yourself in practice. You can't hold back. You can't take yourself out. You got to put yourself in the situation that you're going to be in the game so that you feel that. And when you start to get a little bit tired in practice, you can keep on keeping on and continue to have the kind of spirit and energy you need to finish. So you actually train yourself to do that. But it's a conscious decision that every player makes. It comes down to I'm feeling a little tired, so I'm going to change the way I'm playing, or you make the choices and decisions that I have to push through this, and I'm going to train myself so that I can continue to do this even when the game comes. So it really comes down to feelings versus making the right choices as a player.
Nick Saban on intensity.
Well, and that's what the mantra's been because they lost their intensity after the first quarter. They played a great first quarter. They played an A or A-plus first quarter, probably an A considering they gave up a field goal, but it was a really good first quarter.
No.
And then that's when the C's, started coming in. It was probably a C to a C plus the rest of the game, but I still think they deserved a solid B on offense. I know they didn't crack 400 yards, but they certainly put up the big first quarter and then answered Florida when they had to. And then special teams, we talked with Travis about that. That was an A. Defensively is where they were lacking. This is, a C, a minus, in some cases a D. And so that's what drags it down. And that's why I said it's somewhat fair to say maybe C plus overall, but I still think it's a B grade because you win on the road in the SEC and it ain't easy. So I still think, it wasn't a Daniel Moore type painting the situation where the Alabama and how they played, but it certainly was good enough to get a win against what we think is a quality opponent. But again, right, you can't assume anything because we've already figured out Miami wasn't nearly as good as people were giving them credit for.
All right, we do have another Twitter poll question up there this morning. We will get to that in just a second. But first, we go to Spencer on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Good morning, Spencer.
Good morning.
Good morning, Scott. Good morning, Drew. Listen, guys, I mean, this Alabama fans, we've just been spoiled for so long, man, and especially at the quarterback position. Bryce Young didn't play horrible yesterday or Saturday. I mean, his deep ball wasn't great, but the man wasn't horrible, but everybody thinks he has to be the next Heisman Trophy winner in order to be the Alabama quarterback. And that's just not the case, man. People just got to be happy with the fact that we got to win. I mean, this is getting to be absolutely ridiculous, the standard that this team is being held to week in and week out, man. It's driving me crazy.
Well, I mean, and Bryce Young and Brian Robinson were the two MVPs for Alabama, so anybody questioning how Bryce Young played, if he doesn't protect the ball and not turn it over, and I know he didn't throw for 300 yards, but he threw for well over 200, then Alabama doesn't get the win. And Brian Robinson had 2 touchdowns. In his opportunities, he averaged over 5 yards per carry. I believe he ended up with 78 rushing yards, 85 all-purpose. So he had one of his better games in an Alabama uniform. So it's really those two guys, saved the day for Alabama.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, man. I mean, I thought, for him to be playing like that with that poise in the fourth quarter in such a hostile environment when he hadn't seen anything like that, I mean, I thought it was just absolutely incredible. The man's pocket presence is unbelievable. I mean, he had that one sack where he ran into the defender, but other than that, it's like the man had eyes in the back of his head. He knew when he had to get rid of the ball. He knew when he had to move up in the pocket. He knew when he had to get out of the pocket. Only thing I could say is I wish he would just run the ball a little bit more, man. I mean, for us to only run the ball 20, 25 times in that game was really upsetting to me. I thought we threw the ball a little bit too much, and in his scrambles, he could have ran the ball a little bit more. But thanks, guys. Y'all have a good morning.
Thank you, Spencer.
Spencer brought up a little point there, and he thought Bryce Young played well, and the fact that maybe it's because he's not putting up the Mac Jones numbers, the Tua numbers right out of the gate, that Alabama fans may be sitting there and being like, well, he's great, but he's not Mac. He's not Tua. Is there a perception, or is there a thing that every time he goes back to throw a pass more than 20 yards, you're expecting that pass to be completed simply because of what we've seen the last 2 years?
Well, I don't know about that. I think, he's a different kind of quarterback. He's a different style. He's a short and intermediate passer. He hit a deep ball for 94 yards to Jamison Williams against Miami, so he has hit a deep ball. I mean, he's being compared to Tua and Mac, but he's ahead of Mac at the same stage when they were sophomores. I mean, and he's not quite Tua, but I've never seen anybody that was. And when you talk about it, I mean, he's tied Mac 10 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he's completing, 68% of his passes. So he's doing everything he can. And he did throw. His debut was as good as anyone's ever against Miami.
Right.
Now, he hasn't hit the 300-yard mark in the last 2 games, but that against Mercer, I mean, in that game, I think they came out wanting to run the ball more and get the O-line going. And then against Florida, it looked like he was going to go for 300 after that first quarter, but when you don't make a first down in the second, that's what was the key. If you have one touchdown drive in that quarter, which would have made it a 28-3 game or a 28-9 game, and say you throw for 70 yards on that drive, that's 300.
Right.
So they just didn't have a productive second quarter. But I thought, given it was Bryce's first road start, and people made a big deal out of that, well, how's he going to react in the swamp? Well, he reacted just fine. His team beat the Gators for the 8th straight time.
You brought up the offensive line. Nick Saban brought up the offensive line yesterday as well.
I thought the offensive line did a good job. We had decent protection for the most part. They do some, pretty good pressures that we were able to, pick up. I think that they played a little different front with their nickel people, kind of a 5-1 with an extra guy coming in the box from the secondary someplace that we had not seen much of before. We had to adapt to that in the game. I thought the players did a good job of adapting to it. So I think a little more consistency in the running game, a little more finish and blocks. But I was not disappointed in the job that those guys did. I think they are improving. They're playing more and more together. They're playing better fundamentally. I think we just have to, it's like every other part of our team, a little more consistent, a little more consistency in performance. Block here, block there, finish in a block here and there will make a big difference in how we're able to run the ball in the future.
Nick Saban there on the offensive line, and he thought they played well Saturday in the Swamp.
Well, I mean, pretty well, and I think the biggest key was it was hard for them to hear, and I think that's why they had some penalties and some pre-snap stuff, and they're going to have to clean that up. And and got to remember, Bryce, every quarterback's different the way they call cadence and everything. And another thing we haven't talked about, last year the crowds were small enough they didn't need any of that.
Yeah, they got brought up Saturday.
No matter how loud you pump the music in, or the fans try to scream and yell. I mean,
there was no one in there.
Yeah,
there was nothing. Yeah,
you didn't have to go to these silent counts, and you didn't have to worry about not being able to hear. And so it's different. You're getting it's like riding a bike. You have to acclimate yourself to it. But again, it's different. And
you wonder if that's why a lot of these college football teams that we say are in top 10 teams right now that are struggling a little bit. Maybe it is because of everything being thrown back at them within college football.
I think that is a small factor.
That's something interesting. All right, let's get out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Brandon's with us this morning. Good morning, Brandon.
Guys, good morning.
Morning.
As far as Bryce Young goes, if you took and dropped him in last year and he was the starter over Mac, you would probably see things more last year than you do this year, because we don't have those guys. We don't have 4 first-round receivers. We don't even have 2 right now, I don't think. And I think he's doing the best with what he's got, and we got to stop expecting him to be somebody that he's not. And speaking of that, let's take a look up the road up in South Carolina. Clemson went out and dropped a whopping 14 points on Georgia Tech the other day.
Yeah.
Talk about expectations for a quarterback falling flat on their face. People need to be glad that we've got Bryce. I promise you we could put up more than 14 points on Georgia Tech.
Well,
I think you, Scott, and Chad probably could put up 14 points on Georgia Tech.
You bring up a good point. Think about this. DJU, De'Aaron King, and Michael Penix, all at the beginning of the season, were projected to be real high quarterback performers. All 3 have really disappointed out of the gates.
Well, De'Aaron King's hurt with the shoulder. He's going to see the doctors. And then Penix has thrown 5-6 interceptions already, I think 6. And he's turned the ball over a bunch. And Uiagalelei has not been good. And it goes back to what Alabama decided to do. They recruited both players, but they decided Bryce was the better player, even though he doesn't, have the central casting size and arm strength of DJ Uiagalelei. But I think he's a better pure QB, and that's what I've always thought. And I think it's playing itself out right now, but we'll see, Brandon. That's a good point.
Well, I mean, you and I spoke yesterday, and we both agreed we don't really feel like there is just an elite, dominant team out there this year. This might be more of a level playing field than we've seen in a lot of years. I mean, Nebraska pushed Ohio State the other day really hard.
Oklahoma, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry about that.
No.
And Ohio State, you take a look at them. What are they? What is Oregon? Oregon looked pretty good against Ohio State, but was it because Oregon's that good or Ohio State's that mediocre?
Well, their defense is so bad at Ohio State.
Fresno's obviously pretty good because they almost beat Oregon, and then they did beat UCLA. So there you go.
Yeah, I just feel like this year it's really a pick-em, and whoever manages to stay healthy and play probably the best defense has got a chance of winning a championship. And when I look at Bryce Young, I want him to run a little more, but I love how his eyes are upfield and he is concentrating on his receivers. The ability for him to do that is just it's amazing that he doesn't get rattled. He doesn't look scared. Yeah, he took a couple hits, but we're not probably going to go to any environment other than maybe A&M that will be as loud as what Florida was. And I think that is going to be a big stepping stone to get ready to play at A&M, and we won't be caught off guard when we get there.
No, I agree. Remember, though, and you bring up A&M, a couple years ago, they were talking about, yes, A&M has 100,000 fans, but it still seems to be the quietest 100,000 fans, even when they try to make as much noise as they possibly can. So we'll see.
Well, I guess their 12th man claim with Seattle must go out the window then.
The Titans certainly made sure of that.
Yes. All right, thanks for the call, Brandon.
Roll Tide, John.
All right, and Brandon brings up a good point. We keep talking about it. You look inside the top 10 in the AP poll this week, and you said yesterday that Georgia probably right now, of all the 10, playing the most complete football.
You have to say that.
And you look at all the 10, and you can nitpick about all 9 teams remaining inside the AP top 10. All right, Jason's holding for us as well. Good morning, Jason.
Morning.
Hey, I was thinking, Bryce Young don't have the cast around him that the last 3 quarterbacks that had around him down there. Was all, had a first-round draft pick, running back, or Derrick Henry was the third. Najee was the first. And Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs. There's a big difference in what Bryce has got around him than the other quarterbacks had.
Yeah, I mean, he had 4. He had Waddle, Judy, Ruggs, Smitty. I mean, he had some outstanding talent around him. There's no question about it. And Najee Harris, who broke every record in the Alabama record book. So and before that, Josh Jacobs. He's pretty good too. So there was a lot of really good players around those guys. And this supporting cast is developing. I don't think it's quite as talented. Certainly still got several pros on it. I think that'll play in the NFL. It's just maybe not as freakishly talented. So, again, it's going to be a little bit different type of football team.
Right. And as far as Bryce running, I don't know if that's a great idea. He needs to get a yard every once in a while. But if you look at the second and third quarterback that's behind him, if there's a game he can't play because he was running the ball, we'll have a bunch of fans giving us some D's Monday morning.
Oh, there'll be a lot of, why is he running? Why is he taking hits? It's unnecessary. I mean, I do think there's a spot or two where he needs to, maybe move the chains, get a first down, get out of bounds, or slide, and then in that instance on the goal line, maybe, be able to score a touchdown. But I completely agree with you. All this 7, 8, 9, 10 carries.
Don't need it?
No! Because you might as well start drinking if he gets hurt. I'm just telling you.
And our fans have got to realize that the other schools in the SEC also hands out scholarships, and they've got coaches that's got a little bit of a resume. So we're going to get a challenge every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
True that.
Right.
True that. Good call, Jason.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, Jason Caldwell is going to visit with us here in a second, but we got to play this from Brian Harsin yesterday. His comments after the loss to Penn State.
Have any players of the game? We don't do that when there's a loss, but I did think there were guys that did play well, and there were some good performances from several guys on the team. But overall, just guys were disappointed, as they should be. And, we need to take away what we learned from this game, apply it to this week, and use that as motivation going into the preparation that we need to have against a really good Georgia State team.
No players of the week because they don't do that when they lose. That is from Brian Harsin. We got to get Jason Caldwell's opinion on that when we return. Plus, was it a win for Auburn despite a loss? Well, we'll get his thoughts on the game as well.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Good morning. We've had accidents reported I-65 at the 341 and Highway 20 at Greenbrier Parkway. Both of those came in as no injury, so they should move pretty quick. Everything else looking good this morning. You be careful on your ride in. Put some extra room in there so you got somewhere to go if something goes wrong. Do you know who to call when you need a heart doctor? You could write this name down. Dr. Randall Burns at Huntsville Heart Specialist. Dr. Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
AVIQ.
Who is AVIQ?
AVIQ is audiovisual the intelligent way, where we put our IQ to work for your AV needs. With more than 100 years combined experience in audio, video, and automation, our team of experts is dedicated to one thing, helping you discover technological solutions that make your home special. Once you experience a game or a movie on one of our state-of-the-art home theater systems, you may never leave the house again. AVIQ can build the entire system for you or provide the quality components if you're a do-it-yourselfer. But AVIQ is more than just home theater and state-of-the-art sound systems. We offer a variety of control options for home technology. Energy efficiency, heightened security, and improved quality of life are all attainable through the automation of home systems. Intuitive and user-friendly control is our main priority in designing a system that meets your needs. Don't just take our word for it. You need to see it to believe it. Come visit us at our state-of-the-art showroom on University, just east of Jim and Nick's, across from AT&T, or visit aviqhsv.com.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Tom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
Tom Luganbill here for Woody Anderson Ford. When I was in the Tennessee Valley, one of the things that impressed me the most was the quality of the people. People like Bobby White and his team at Woody Anderson Ford. And now you can experience the tremendous new service lanes and showroom at Woody Anderson Ford, at Jordan and Sparkman, or just stop by for breakfast or lunch at Henry's Mustang Cafe. And in Madison, visit Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, just south of 72. Like a great college football tradition, always there, Woody Anderson Ford.
This is Paul Feinbaum. Listen to me coming up today at 2. Now back to Talking Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
All right, coming back, Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. And coming up a little bit later, we will hear from Jason Caldwell. We kind of teased it there just a little bit on Brian Harsin, talking about the fact that Auburn doesn't name Team of the Week players when they lose and everything else like that. We will hear more from Brian Harsin and Nick Saban coming up here in just a minute on the show. I did mention there's a Twitter poll question up there this morning, and you can get in on that at 977 ESPN, or you can call us, 256-576-4977. And that is, who is the toughest opponent left on Alabama's schedule? Just throwing that one out there this morning. Number 7, Texas A&M. Number 13th, Ole Miss. Number 16th ranked Arkansas, or 23rd ranked Auburn. Right now, 77% say 13th ranked Ole Miss. 13% say Auburn. 9% Texas A&M. Nobody's fearing the hog, because nobody has Arkansas picked.
Well, Arkansas has
improved.
There's no doubt about that. I'm really, really, really anxious and intrigued to and I'm going to watch that game closely. The CBS contest at 2:30 this Saturday inside Jerry World. I believe that's where the game is still being played.
It is.
Arkansas and Texas A&M. Now, Texas A&M's won 9 in a row.
They have.
But it doesn't feel like it.
And they have an 11-game win streak right now, which is the tied for the third longest, or I guess you could say second longest in the country.
Yeah, the last loss, of course, was to Alabama and Tuscaloosa, which was an evisceration. But anyway,
yes.
The Hogs, no question about it, have played well early. They destroyed Texas. They destroyed Georgia Southern last week. This will be their biggest test, though, because A&M has a defense. There's no question about that. Mike Elko's stop unit has really lived up to it so far. Zach Calzada getting more comfortable at quarterback. They were impressive against New Mexico last week. But again, I'm not going to get carried away with that, because it was an overmatched opponent. And I still wonder how they're going to run the ball because Barry Odom's defense is a veteran unit. And despite the fact that this is a 9-game winning streak, most of these games, Scott, have gone down to the latter part of the fourth quarter, if not the final play of the game. So
even last year when Arkansas was not great, when Arkansas was not great, they still
this has been a
challenge
hotly
Texas
contested
A&M.
game.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so that is you can get in on that 256-576-4977. The toughest game that you think remains on Alabama's schedule, and you can also vote on that at our Twitter page at 977ESPN. We bring up the fact that Texas A&M has won 11 in a row. Arkansas is also tied there with 11 in a row wins. Alabama has the longest streak in college football right now at 17 games. That is where we talk about that. Now, I did see this tweet, Drew, yesterday, and I don't know what to make of it. I really don't. It's from College Football Nerds. I don't know what to make of it, but it has to deal with Alabama, and I'm going to read this and see what you think. It says, decent guess why Alabama is struggling with the run, and is in reference to stopping the run because Florida ran a little bit on Alabama. They say Bama signed 4 top 50 recruits on the defensive line from 17 to 19, your juniors and seniors. Of those, 3/4 are not on the team, and Moa, Alfano, and Sofsher. And the 4th has missed the last 2 years with injuries, LeBrian Ray.
Yeah, they're talking about Ayabi and Noma.
Is that fair to say with this Alabama defense?
You could say that because it's affected their depth a little bit. But Noma was really going to be an outside backer anyway. He was going to be a jack guy, and I'm sorry, he ain't Will Anderson. He's at UT Martin. He is talented, and he would have played, but he ain't Will Anderson.
Right.
Will Anderson is the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. Will Anderson plays with a motor every play. He can play the run. He can play against the pass. He does everything. So Will Anderson, to me, still would have passed him on the depth chart. But I think Anoma could have been a situational pass rusher. LeBrian Ray has been hurt. There's no doubt about that. Sopsher, could have helped at the nose spot and maybe played some. But Tim Smith is an outstanding disruptive force, hopefully going to continue to play more and get better as the year goes on. So I'm not really sure how big a factor he would have been either, even though he has talent. I think Tim Smith is better. I'm just going to be blunt about it. I do. And who was the other young man they were talking about? I know it was Sopsher and Noma, LeBrian Ray.
Alfano.
We're not even talking about that.
Moving on from that one. Gone. Gone.
Young man joined this show, but was one of the most overrated players in the history of recruiting, and that's all I'll say. And so I think that's a little bit overblown. I mean, certainly, again, I don't care that they were 5 stars. They never made a play in college, so you can't say they were great players. Okay, all you can say is they were misevaluated. Even Alabama does it.
Right.
But, so I don't really buy that. I think there were better players. When Alfano was here, I saw him practice. He was far from, better than a Boygby and these guys that are already on the field. So what they need to do is just get better and more consistent play. And I thought the D-line was good the first 2 weeks. when they had to step up in level of competition, didn't play all that well against Florida. Let's see how they respond. I'm more interested in how this group responds instead of saying, well, get him out of the lineup, get him out of the lineup, get him out of the lineup. It's a video game. Let's put somebody else in there, and they're going to be an All-American. That's not how it works. You develop what you got, and that's what Alabama has to do.
The other big SEC note that we want to make sure we get out there, LSU defensive end Andre Anthony is expected to miss the rest of the season with a knee injury. 6th-year senior, one of the best pass rushers on that LSU team, also a team leader for LSU. That's a big blow.
Yeah, it's a big blow. I mean, that certainly doesn't help Ed Ogeron and LSU. They did beat Central Michigan impressively, but now they have to go on the road to Starkville and play Mississippi State. So that's going to be an interesting contest. We all know what happened last year when LSU lost that game so decisively and did not play well at all. So LSU's going to not lack for motivation. They're only a 2.5-point favorite right now against Mississippi State. So it's going to be a battle of 2-1 teams, and it's the dreaded 11 a.m. kickoff. So you got to be ready to go.
There's two. Can you believe that? There's two.
Have that early pregame meal.
There's two 11 a.m. SEC matchups this weekend. You've got Georgia at Vanderbilt, which is an 11 a.m.
That will be a massacre of epic proportions. Now, I mean, Vandy did get a win at Colorado State, and that was really neat, and happy for them to bounce back. They got smacked around by Stanford a little bit, and they're going to get mauled by Georgia. Just absolutely shellacked.
That's an 11 a.m. kick.
This is a 56-7 type beatdown
that you need to get up and listen to on that one. I'm trying to see here. I'm trying to see the
I'm actually surprised that it's 34.5. I thought it would be 40.
Is that what it is? 34.5? Yeah.
And the Alabama game is actually, they haven't taken it off the board. It's 44.5.
Well, you look at around to the rest of the SEC slate. So you got that LSU-Mississippi State game at 11 a.m. Here's an intriguing one for you because Missouri's 2-1. They're 0-1 in SEC play because they fell to Kentucky. But, Drew, it's an 11 a.m. kick, 12 a.m., or it's a noon kick on the East Coast. Missouri's traveling to Boston College this week, who's off to a 3-0 start.
Under the radar, Boston College Eagles. We'll see.
Is that an under-the-radar type of game this week?
It is, and and Boston College has been an under-the-radar type football team. I mean, the ACC's got to be thanking the Lord that somebody's undefeated. I can tell you that because Pitt, that was pathetic.
If Missouri goes on the road and beats Boston College, should we just flush the ACC down? I mean, just get rid of it?
It's already pretty much flush, but yeah. I mean, it's been bad. And so, yeah, they need Boston College to continue to kind of climb up there and eventually be a ranked football team. Now, this would be a huge win for Mizzou if they could go on the road and get a win. I hope they do. I think it's interesting. Boston College is a slight favorite. Oh, well, I take that back. When I saw the 2 points, I figured it was actually Missouri is favored in this game. So that shows you what they think of the ACC because – they think Mizzou's going to go to Chestnut Hill and win, and I thought for sure that when I saw it was a 2 points that Boston College being the home team would be getting would be laying 2. But wow. So
they're really not buying Boston College's 3-0
They're not buying
start.
The ACC. Period. I mean, but I mean, hey, it is what it is.
Who is buying the ACC these days? I mean, right now, nobody.
Not really. I mean, when you look at it, I mean. In Boston College, I mean, they beat Temple 28-3 last week, and then in their second game, Boston College beat UMass 45-28, and then they opened the season. They beat Colgate 51-0. So this is not exactly Murderers Row they played.
So that 3-0 start is
Colgate, UMass.
It looks better.
And then this is not Matt Rule's Temple, everybody. This is not Matt Rule's Temple.
You write 3-0 down on the paper. That looks impressive. You look underneath the paper and you see what the 3-0 is, and it doesn't look as impressive.
I mean, at least Mizzou's played Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky did try to flush their season down the toilet and lose to Chattanooga, but they did find a way to survive, as Jeff from the Borough said. And
he didn't watch it anyway, so he didn't care.
Yeah, of course, he comes in here and talks about it. But he claims to be a Kentucky fan, which we all believe. Let's just say that. But he didn't watch it. He didn't even watch a replay of it, I guess. I mean, what's the matter, Jeff? I mean, were you so terrified when you saw the updates that you just couldn't bring yourself to watch it because you thought it was going to be another disaster? I don't know.
Well,
and then somebody sent me a tweet yesterday from John Clay. Mark Stoops, they're going on the road to South Carolina, by the way.
Right.
Kentucky's road record under Mark Stoops in the SEC is 8-25, so it's not very good. So, but I still think they're getting this win. I've got to go with them, man. I got to believe they're going to beat South Carolina and beat them soundly. And
I think so.
I think they were flat against Chattanooga. You see that sometimes, and they at least found a way to win it. And so I got to believe they're going to get this win.
Well, the one common theme that all the teams that we've talked about know, they know who their starting quarterback is going into Saturday's game. The Tennessee Volunteers, on the other hand, do not know who their starting quarterback is going to be. Well, I shouldn't say they don't know. Josh Heupel is saying he doesn't know who his starter's going to be.
It's going to be Hendon Hooker. You just want to
here's Josh Heupel.
Never speaking hypotheticals. Got a little bit of work last week. We'll find out where he is in particular, Tuesday, Wednesday here and see where we're at that point as far as whether he'll be able to play or not.
Because they're saying Joe Milton, Josh Heupel talking about Joe Milton being hurt and not knowing who is going to be under center. So he's telling the media and everybody else he doesn't know who's going to be under center when the Vols travel to Gainesville to take on the Gators.
Hendon Hooker is who's going to be the quarterback. I mean, he's been the quarterback the last 2 weeks. And they won one game and nearly came back and beat Pitt, who's obviously not very good now. We figured that out too. But still, and we don't think Tennessee's very good, honestly. But Hendon Hooker gives them the best chance to win. I mean, Joe Milton, his accuracy wasn't there. He can run the football, but guess what, guys? Run the football. Hurt. So he's already injured. So that's what I'm saying. And he was taking a lot of hits. So he has a strong arm. He could win a punt, pass, and kick contest, but this is not what this is about. You have to actually hit people.
I did those as a kid.
I know. You have to actually be able to throw the football and hit someone in stride and throw with accuracy. It's not about just pure arm strength. I
didn't win it, but I did.
When I was a kid, people would tell me, well, the guy can throw it for 75 yards, and I was always like, well, why does it always hit them in the ankles? Why can't they hit them in stride? That's what it's about. It's about accuracy and decision-making, which is what Mike Leach preaches, which is why I've always been a Mike Leach fan.
Look, I watched that Tennessee Pitt game, and Joe Milton had several opportunities to hit wide receivers in stride that were completely wide open. And he overthrew them.
Man, all
by
I
like
could
10
think
yards.
about was one of those drinking games. Drink when he overthrows somebody. I mean, if I'm a Tennessee fan, take a shot when he overthrows somebody. Are you kidding me?
Oh, they probably wouldn't make it to half.
I know. By the second quarter, they're going to be drunk as skunks. I'm just telling you. And at least Hooker was throwing the ball with some accuracy. And he has experience because, remember, he was at Virginia Tech. So this is a guy that's been a starter before, just like Joe Milton. Their stories are similar. But I just thought, well, at least Hooker's hitting some people. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
keeping Vols fans sober.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I can just see it up in the stands. They got those little,
little flasks.
Little flasks in there. I mean, I'm sure this is going to be one of those little, sound bites we're going to use on this show. But I'm just saying, if I'm a Tennessee fan, take a shot every time he freaking overthrows somebody. But then somebody better be the designated driver because I'm not going to be able to go home.
You wouldn't even make it to halftime.
No.
All right, let's get a break.
Whatever's in your moonshine.
Let's get a break in. When we come back, we'll check in with Mike Leach, Dan Mullen, and the rest of the SEC. And in case you missed Shane Beamer on Saturday as to why the Gamecocks lost to Georgia, Oh, we'll play that little clip for you as well because it's priceless.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a pedestrian-involved accident in a parking lot at Madison and Lowe. There is an injury there. Northbound on County Line north of 72 near Hatchet. Got a vehicle involved in a wreck there. I-65 341 mile marker reported as a no injury. Highway 20 and Greenbrier Parkway also a no injury accident. Do your methods to lose weight no longer work for you? Odds are the problem's your hormones. Find out with a free quiz at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up. Everybody knows the fun begins when you get to the end zone, where you can enjoy half-price apps every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, half-price burgers every Tuesday, plus late-night pizza specials and a spectacular menu that includes jumbo wings, half-pound burgers, Tex-Mex, and an incredible selection of craft beer, and plenty of big-screen TVs. It's all happening at the end zone, 1851 University Drive, 2030 Cecil Ashburn at Jones Valley Station, and coming in early 2022, Mid-City End Zone at 1115 McMurtry next to the Target Shopping Center.
Maybe the air doesn't blow like it should, or it's needing new tires, or you're just ready for something newer. It's time to move up, time to trade up. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your current car or truck is worth more than you know. In fact, we'll buy your vehicle even if you don't trade. We have nearly 100 Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned models to choose from. Our Ford Gold certified or low mileage gently used vehicles with great warranties. They've passed a 172-point inspection by certified technicians, come with a 24-hour roadside assistance, plus a full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. It's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your vehicle is worth more right now at Woody Anderson Ford. Corner of Jordan Lane and Sparkman Drive. Hope to see you soon.
Drinking coffee straight from the pot. Power move. Wearing a bathrobe to work. Power move. Switching to super fast, extra reliable internet from WOW. Power move. Switch and save with WOW Internet for just $19.99 a month. It's switching season, so make a move with our end of summer flash sale. This month only, get Internet 100 with no contracts for just $19.99 a month. Plus, get a 2-year price lock and the first month free. Make the switch at WowA.com today. Wow. Limited to new customers with auto pay and paperless billing. Offer subject to change. Restrictions and terms apply.
Orange is the color power of construction, the color of Kubota and Huntsville Tractor and Equipment. Those who need to get things done trust Kubota's mini excavators, compact track loaders, and the best keeps getting better with the all-new mini compact loader from one of the top dealers in the country. More than 50 years of family service, every part in the book, and folks who know what to do with them. You'll be seeing orange with Huntsville Tractor and Equipment.
Come on, let's go to work.
When we say local, we mean local, not Birmingham.
Loser.
We are the only sports talk station in Huntsville. It's all right here. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You've got a magical glow.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
And good news, speaking of University Kia, we will let you know the time tomorrow. Actually, we will let you know the time later today. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at 977ESPN because on Saturday, Drew and I will be at University Kia. And if you want to go see Alabama and Ole Miss, you are going to have to visit University Kia on Saturday because we're going to give you a chance to go see the Alabama-Ole Miss game on us. That's right. We will have tickets to the Alabama-Ole Miss football game. You've got to stop by University Kia on Saturday. We'll let you know the time later today. You've got to pay attention to Facebook. You got to pay attention to Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. And we will let you know the official time that we will be there, Drew. But we are going to give a listener a pair of tickets to go see Alabama-Ole Miss, courtesy of Bob Baumhauer's Victory Grill, University Kia, and our good friend Arthur Seaton. We will be there for your chance to win Ole Miss tickets.
Yep, and it's shaping up to be a huge game. I think it's going to be a battle of unbeatens, and yes, I'm already putting the Southern Miss game in the win column for Alabama. Nick Saban would call that rat poison, but I'm absolutely doing that. Ole Miss, of course, has got a bye. They set it up so they could have 2 weeks to prepare for Alabama. Everybody tries to do that. Doesn't help usually. But we'll see if it does with the Rebels, because they are capable of beating Alabama. There is no question. I said this yesterday on the show. I believe it's the best offense they'll see all year, at least in the regular season, because certainly if you qualify for the SEC championship game, you could see a team like Georgia, or at the college football playoff, you're going to see elite competition. But in the regular season, Ole Miss is as good as Alabama is going to see on that side of the ball. This is a very potent attack, led by a Heisman Trophy candidate, Matt Corral, led by a great running attack with Snoop Connor, who's an outstanding player. And so they've got a two-headed monster there at running back. So they're very talented, and they've been able, with Drummond and some of these receivers, to keep it rolling, even though Elijah Moore is now in the NFL, and so is Kenny Yeboah. So it's just a very, very talented Ole Miss offensive unit.
Right now, Ole Miss averaging 635 yards a game and have 20 offensive touchdowns through 3 games this season. We will talk more about Alabama, Ole Miss, but right now, Alabama 418 yards a game, and Alabama with 14 offensive touchdowns this season. So that is just some numbers there. Now, this past weekend, we talked about it, Drew. The fact that South Carolina had to take on Georgia, South Carolina didn't stand much of a chance in this one. Shane Beamer, after the game, this was Shane Beamer's response to why South Carolina had a hard time offensively.
Just what were they doing to maybe make things physical on the offensive side and maybe being able to get a push?
Who was doing?
Georgia's a defensive line. What were they doing to maybe make things difficult on the offense?
They've got like 105-star football players on their defense. They have a defensive lineman that weighs 340 pounds and runs better than everybody on this call. They've got 5-star defensive backs. They're big and physical and fast. I mean, other than that, they're really freaking good. That's why they have the top defense in the country. They're hard to run the football on. So there wasn't some magical scheme they came out with tonight. They got 5-star recruits everywhere, and they play really physical. Damn.
I like the candor when you ask an obvious question. Like, what were they doing on the They've got wrecking balls, man. We can't block them. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to see it. So, but you did get a great sound bite out of Shane Beamer. I mean, the better question would have been, Coach, how does your program improve? What in what areas? Because you see, you're playing against a defense that's probably going to be the best you've seen all year. What do you take out of it? Even though your offense struggled, how do you get better following playing against a defense like that? That would have been a better way to phrase the question instead of just acting. What are they doing? Well, they've got wrecking balls everywhere, man. I mean, come on. It's just this Jordan Davis. He's just he's a monster. We saw him at SEC Media Days. I mean, this guy's so massive. I mean, Alabama was able to run the ball in Georgia last year, but it was like pounding on a rock. You just had to keep pounding, and they did rush for over 150 yards. And then Najee got exactly 150, and Alabama kept pounding. And they didn't break a lot of long runs. They broke 7, 8, 9 yards every now and then. I think one 15-yarder or around there, or 20. but they didn't have any big explosive runs, but you're not going to against a front that good. You just have to continue to pound, and Alabama's offensive line did that. So Georgia's exceptional against the run, no question about it, and just exceptional defensively.
We talked a lot yesterday about Mississippi State and Memphis, the bad officiating, the no calls, the SEC response to everything, and admitting that the officials blew the call there in the Memphis-Mississippi State game, and there were 2 number 4 players on the field, and everything that goes with that. We talked all about how awful SEC officiating has become. Mike Leach was asked yesterday about trying to move on, Drew, about the no call.
Well, our team doesn't need to worry about that. I mean, we had the ample opportunities to do things different, one play aside. Well, actually, there may have been more that people would disagree on, and I think that's definitely the case. There were multiple questionable plays, but the biggest thing is we had that. We need to worry about ourselves. I mean, what we do is what's most important, and so they don't dwell on that at all. I mean, it's I handle that, and then our administration, and then in the league. So they handle that, and we focus on playing one play at a time. And we got to get better at that. That's the biggest thing.
Classy response there from Mike Leach, and that's what we kind of alluded to yesterday, was the fact that Mississippi State was trailing at the time, still had to come down and score. We thought they probably would, but that's a classy response there from Mike Leach.
Yeah, no doubt. You just have to move on. You have to, understand that there's nothing you can do about it now. You'll get the old apology and we blew it and all that kind of thing, but it's not going to change the result. You can't go back and do that. And we want to thank John Ferris, by the way, one of our great listeners, who told us why Missouri is a 2-point favorite in Chestnut Hill against Boston College, because, Scott, we were talking about this before we came back. The Notre Dame transfer, Phil Dracovic, he had a good year for Boston College last year. It was also a good start, but now he is injured, and it looks like out for the season with a hand injury. So Dennis Grisell, who is a senior from Willoughby, Ohio, is going to be the quarterback going forward. 302 passing yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception so far this year. So pedestrian stats, but he is a senior, and he will be, looks like the QB going forward. Was only 7 out of 15 against Temple for 59 yards and a touchdown and an interception. So, modest stats, but I guess we'll see him behind center against Mizzou.
That is Missouri traveling to Boston College. That will be an 11 a.m. kick on ESPN2. We mentioned Georgia Vanderbilt. That, too, will be an 11 a.m. kick on the SEC Network. And the other 11 o'clock kick is on ESPN, and that is LSU Mississippi State. And we just heard from Mike Leach about moving on from the play call. But what about facing the LSU defense this year versus last year?
Yeah, I did. I think it does. I think they'll play quite a bit more zone this year. They do play man still, though. Kind of between the man and zone so far this year is kind of 50-50. And then, of course, they got a new defensive coordinator, and he's been in the league for a while and, doesn't really have a specific body of work,
Little shade there to Bo Pelini from last year with Mike Leach.
Yeah, considering they played man the whole game and got torched for 600 yards. So I would think they would change it up with Durante Jones some. You still have to favor LSU in this matchup, with Max Johnson at quarterback and, with Ty Davis-Price at running back and the receivers that LSU has, especially, of course, Keyshawn Butte, who's as talented as anyone in the league. But I would have to say that I would be stunned if LSU's not ready to play this game after the embarrassment of last year.
I was going to say, how big of a game, though, is this for Ed Orgeron? I mean, I know you look at the schedule, and lots of times an 11 a.m. kick, these are the games that it's just kind of like the oh-hum type of games, but this game is really, really big for Ed Orgeron in the grand scheme of things.
When you've lost to UCLA, who can't beat Fresno State, okay? And Fresno's a good team, obviously, probably the better group of 5 teams, but still. They lost to Fresno State. They gave up 40 points. You got shellacked. So every game is big. They have not lost a conference game, so this is huge for LSU. They've got to get off on the right foot in SEC play. And so doing so against Mississippi State would be big. It would help continue to put the UCLA game in the rearview mirror because there's nothing you can do about that. But, again, they're all big for Ed Ogeron going forward.
2.5-point favorite are the LSU Tigers Saturday as they travel to Mississippi State. Coming up here in just a minute, Jason Caldwell will join us because Georgia State and Auburn will meet inside Jordan-Hare Stadium. That one is set to get underway at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Auburn, a 27-point favorite over Georgia State. Your over-under, by the way, is 57 in that ball game between Auburn and Georgia State. We heard from Brian Harsin a minute ago talking about they don't give out Team of the Week honors, or Player of the Week honors, I should say, for failing to pick up a win. Team of the Week honors, by the way, in case you were not paying attention yesterday, that goes to the Randolph Raiders. They are our 97.7 ESPN The Zone Bryant Bank Team of the Week, in case you did miss that.
Yeah, and David Lloyd will join us tomorrow at 7:25 in the first hour or so. We'll honor their football team, and we'll be out there on Thursday to award them with our great friends from Bryant Bank.
All right, Jason Caldwell will weigh in on the Auburn Tigers' trip to Happy Valley and just how happy really is Brian Harsin about his team's performance.
Bob Baumhauer and 97.7 ESPN The Zone have teamed up to bring you a huge opportunity this fall. Each week, come on down to Baumhauer's during the drive on Thursdays between 5 and 7 and register to win a Lunch Bunch gift certificate for 6 to Baumhauer's. But wait, there's more. Each weekly winner will then be placed into a drawing for Bob's tickets to the LSU-Alabama game in Tuscaloosa, complete with an invitation to Bob's exclusive pregame party at Baumhauer's Tent on the Quad. Stay tuned to 97.7 ESPN The Zone for other opportunities to sign up and win Bob's tickets.
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant Bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right, even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Just got to wreck in Morgan County with a tractor involved. This is East Upper River Road in Friendship. Apparently a no injury. Madison and Lowe had a pedestrian struck by a vehicle in a parking lot there. Northbound county line north of 72 at Hatchet. Got one vehicle that's still causing some problems for northbound traffic. Snelling needs remote accountants with 3 to 6 months solid accounts payable experience. Must live in northern Alabama. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A partly sunny sky this afternoon, scattered showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures only climbing into the upper 70s and lower 80s, dropping into the low and mid 60s as we head into the overnight. Opportunities for rain are going to continue through the overnight and then through the first half of the day on Wednesday. A partly sunny sky Wednesday afternoon. It does look like the back half of the day is going to be a little drier than the front half. Still, temperatures only climbing into the upper 60s and lower 70s as we head into the overnight early into your Friday morning. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Simple Green is perfect for making your auto, RV, cycling, boating, and other sporting equipment look like new. Visit them at simplegreen.com.
Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott, the odds-on favorite to be named NFL Comeback Player of the Year. Prescott plus 120 odds. Panthers running back Christian McCaffrey plus 650, and Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow at plus 750. Alexander Volkanovski will face Brian Ortega for the UFC Featherweight Championship at UFC 266 at the end of International Fight Week. Volkanovski a minus 165 favorite, Ortega at plus 135. The other title fight in the women's flyweight division, Valentina Shevchenko minus 1,500 against Lauren Murphy at plus 750. The 2021 Ryder Cup, Team USA is favored over Team Europe, the U.S. minus 200, Europe plus 225.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And welcome back to hour number 2 of Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. We are ready to go. 73 degrees here in the Tennessee Valley on this Tuesday morning. And the Auburn Tigers traveled to Happy Valley on Saturday. We all know the outcome, 28-20. Auburn with chances in that ball game. When you come down to it, a handful of things probably needed to be different. One, the fourth down call on 4th and goal. A lot of people kind of questioning and scratching their head on that one. Obviously, the fumble to start the second half. When Auburn got the ball and down, I believe, only 4. That was a big difference in the game. But Brian Harsin had some interesting things to say yesterday, Drew, about this team, about the Happy Valley trip.
Yeah, he did. And we're going to bring in our next guest who's been a big part of our show, and it's Jason Caldwell in his 22nd year of covering Auburn with Mark Murphy of Inside the Auburn Tigers. And, of course, that's AUTigers.com, part of Auburn Undercover, which is 24/7 Sports, and what they do a great job. And he's been good enough to join us this morning and revisit the Happy Valley trip, and then look ahead to Georgia State and what we found out about the Auburn Tigers. Jason, welcome back to Huntsville. You're with Drew and Scott. Good morning.
Morning, guys.
Morning, Jason. And first, I'm going to ask you, I know you're a historian. You love the sports. You love high school football. You love college football. What was it like for the first time going to Penn State?
Yeah, it was really good trip. I told a couple of folks there at Penn State, I said, if you dropped somebody off, 20 miles outside of town and said drive into the game, they would not have known they were in Pennsylvania or Lawrence County. I mean, like it's just countryside. That's what it is. And now it's in kind of in between a bunch of bigger cities. But it's out kind of middle of nowhere. But they did it right. The whiteout was a tremendous atmosphere, very similar to what you see in the Southeastern Conference, except it was from a visual aspect. It was a little different because they go all in. They're all in on the whiteout, and they do it really well. But yeah, it was a great experience, knowing the history, everything that's going on there. To see a game there was really special.
Well, what did you learn from watching this Auburn team that, I mean, obviously you don't want to dwell too much on the fact that a loss can be a win, but what did you learn from this Auburn team that maybe we didn't see from playing the Akrons and Alabama States?
Yeah, I thought there were some things you can build on. Yeah, it's not a win. There are no moral victories, as coaches like to say, but I think there's things you can take from a loss, much the same way you could have taken them from a win. I think one of those is that I think there was some steps taken on offense. They still need to find, to me, you got to find some playmakers at wide receiver. That's kind of the missing link for this offense. But I thought running game was good. I thought Bo played a really a pretty good game. When you look at not having a whole lot of separation outside of wide receiver, a couple of key drops. Defensively played to run well. I thought you saw what I talked about in the preseason that there were going to be some bumps in the road along the way when you have a new offense and new defense. We saw those Saturday night. I thought Penn State took advantage of some tempo when you got guys that are in a defense for the first time in that environment. There were some communication issues and a few busts along the way. I thought that was a big deal. But I think, we figured out, what are they going to do as far as pass rush? It looked pretty good the first couple of weeks, not so much Saturday night. But all in all, you look at it and you go, played toe-to-toe with a top 10 team in the best environment they're going to have all season. And, it wasn't louder than any other place Auburn's going to play. But once you get to a certain point, they're all about the same. It is what it is. So if you're Auburn, you're not going to see anything worse than you saw Saturday night in terms of environment. You handled that. That wasn't the difference between winning and losing. Now it's about executing and cleaning things up, and I think that's things you can build on.
Well, I really thought they looked fundamentally better than they had the last couple of years under Gus Malzahn. I liked what I saw on both sides of the ball from that standpoint. I thought they looked physical. I thought it was a good football game. We knew it was going to go down to the fourth quarter. It was just a couple of plays here or there that did not go Auburn's way, that went Penn State's way. I thought from a positive standpoint, Jason, the running game was what I expected. Tank Bigsby was really good. I've been really impressed with Hunter early. And then it makes you wish that what maybe you could have seen earlier in his career. But I thought while the wide receivers, as you said, I completely agree they need more production there. John Samuel Shanker, the tight end, looked like a future NFL guy.
He's just a guy that's just, he's athletic enough that he's played baseball for 2 years.
Right.
He's a guy that can make a catch and make a guy miss and run. He's an athlete, and you're right. For the last 6-7 years, really since C.J. Uzomah, it's been a lost position in Auburn's offense. It's coming back now. They targeted Tyler Fromm a couple of times. They're trying to add more to it. I think you're going to see John Samuel Shinker continue to be a target for Bo Nix, and the running game, a couple of catches from Jarquez Hunter. I think that's where it has to go. I talked about it last week about kind of that short control passing game until you can find some guys downfield. I thought Kobe Hudson, even though he had the mistake to start the second half, I thought he was a guy that really stepped up. He made some plays with the ball in his hands, went up and got a ball. That was probably a big step for him, even though it comes maybe in what he thought was the darkest hour. He ended up answering the bell, and so I think that was I think Shinker and Kobe Hudson for me were a couple of guys that you go, all right, that was a big deal for those guys in the passing game.
Is this a case where the play calling too maybe needs to try to get them involved a little bit sooner, a little bit earlier?
I think like everybody, you hear coaches all the time talk about it, and play callers especially. You kind of have to figure out week to week, especially early on, who you got, what you got. I bet if you talk to Bill O'Brien, he would say, we're trying to figure out, you know what you got in practice, but then what do you have in a game? And then you start to tailor that to the guys that are stepping up and making plays. And so I think, you may have a different interpretation of what your team looks like in scrimmages than you do once you actually get into a game situation and teams start throwing a different defense at you, different coverages. That's the other part of this offense. These guys, for the first time, are having to adjust to, all right, well, what's the defense giving me now? What are we going to do to adjust to it at the line of scrimmage versus looking to the sidelines, calling a play, here's where we're throwing the ball. That takes a little bit of time, and it takes, unfortunately, it takes doing that in game situations. Now Auburn's done it in a really tough environment, and now you go, okay, here's where we're tweaking things. So now you tweak the offense. You're right. Now you start to go, okay, let's lean towards a couple of these guys. And I think getting Javarius Johnson back healthy will be a big deal for this offense, too. I think he's been really missed the last 2 weeks in the passing game.
See, I was about to ask about him. He had limited touches in the game. What is his injury situation, Jason?
Yeah, he had a twist his ankle a little bit late in the Akron game.
Okay.
And, was held out against Alabama State. traveled, played a little bit, had one third down catch for a first down, but didn't play as many reps. Probably limited. Getting him back healthy. He's a guy that understands the middle of the field, how to run routes, how to influence DBs, all those things, and I think that's something that's been missing these last two. You look at the passing game. Obviously, the opponents are different, and they've shown you different things, but it hasn't looked the same without him in the middle of the field. Even though he didn't have a ton of catches in the first game, I think he's a guy that draws some defenses, does some different things for you.
Well, and then the offensive line as a whole. How did you think they performed in their first true big test against Penn State?
I thought they held up pretty well. When you talk about a group that has drawn as much criticism as they have, thought Bo was able to stand in the pocket. A couple of times had to get out of there. Maybe a guy that's not as athletic as him might have had a couple of sacks, but they didn't have a ton of pressure. And some of that's the running game, but there were some third and medium, third and long situations where Bo got to stand in there, and of course, didn't find a whole lot of guys open down the field in those situations. But I thought they did a really good job in the running game. That you're right, they were physical, and I think that combination of Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter gives them a pretty special group of running backs to go behind the line that looks like they're going to be able to run the football against most teams they play.
Defensively, they lose Zacoby McClain late in this game. They'll be without him for the first half of this week. That
horrible.
That was a tough call.
I thought it was horrible.
It was a tough call all night long, if you want to talk about the officials. But defensively, up until that point, before they lost Zacoby, and even afterwards, they still managed to do a lot of great things, except for guarding the tight end.
Yeah, I think that's where some communication issues really crept up for them. It's a change in defensive scheme and style for them a lot, a little bit more zone at times. You got newcomers in that back group, and while you do have a Smoke Monday back and you got Roger McCreary, you got newcomers at the other safety spot. And, I think sometimes, all it takes is, you hear it all the time said, normally defense, you can have, 8 guys doing something right and 3 guys doing something wrong, and it can still be successful. But it depends on, if they figure that out, and they, especially in the passing game, we saw it just a couple of busts along the way, and it proved to be big. I thought, the last one, that set up Penn State's final touchdown, the 40-yarder. I thought that was maybe the defensive play of the game when they made that play. They get down there to goal line and stuff them a couple of times, and then you see where that inexperience shines. Without Zacoby McClain and Owen Popo at that point, and run and I think probably just misfit a gap a little bit there. If you hold them to a field goal, who knows what happens? But that was kind of the game. Penn State made plays, Auburn didn't, and in the end, that's where it is. When you go on the road, you got to make more plays, and then that turnover, Penn State's turnover was basically a punt. It didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Auburn's turnover was, you look what happens the next time Auburn gets the ball. They drive the field, length of the field, score a touchdown. You would assume that was the plan coming out the first drive, and it turns into, a 7-point swing, but potentially a 10 to 14-point swing, and you're fighting uphill battle the rest of the second half.
Well, Jason, before we go into my questions to you about the concerns defensively, that I thought it was a poor targeting call. I didn't think that Zacoby was going for the head there. I thought he was trying to hit him with his shoulder too. The rule has got to be changed, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you got to find a way, and we've talked about it a long time, trying to give officials the leeway to gauge intent. We tried that for a long time with the face mask. It didn't work, and they've kind of gone back and forth with it. But I think you look at it, for me, it's you got to find a way to make it not that big of a penalty where a guy – now, if you see a guy launch himself and head first into somebody's head, and you can go, hey, look, that guy's trying to hurt somebody. That's one thing. But, Zacoby McClain comes in with his shoulder, and if he doesn't, the guy's wiggling, he's going to score a touchdown. There's no other way, and the only way to tackle him as low as the guy was to the ground was to tackle him with your knees, and that's not going to happen. I mean, there's no other way to do it. And so sometimes you have to be, a little bit more aware of what the situation is and maybe what a guy's trying to do.
Well, and then defensively, I know when we've spoken to you earlier in the season, there was some thought, that you were concerned after the Akron game about how many completions in a row they got. How concerning is it that the secondary seemed to struggle? Is that just a case of guys still trying to acclimate themselves because there is some transfers in the lineup and some new faces with Roger McCreary and Smoke Monday, because Clifford completed a very high percentage of his throws?
Yeah, obviously it's concerning. I thought Saturday it was a combination of the lack of pass rush. That I think they probably played a little softer, honestly, the first 2 weeks. They didn't play as soft Saturday night, but you saw some easy completion to the tight end, a lack of pressure, and then they really good wide receiver outside in John Dotson. I thought you look at him, and he reminded me of watching what Alabama and Florida's had the last 2 years. He was that good, and so I think it was a combination of things. But you look and go, man, it doesn't matter what the situation is. You got to figure out a way to fix it. I think we'll see a little bit more man moving forward from this defense, and try to find some ways to create pressure. That's the only way that you overcome some of these issues.
Yeah, and it starts this week with Georgia State. And the good news is for Auburn, it was a non-conference game, great measuring stick game, but everything still lies ahead of them with conference play.
Yeah, you had it all ahead of you. You look and you go, it's all ahead of you, but got a bunch of ranked teams ahead of you now.
Yeah.
When you look at Auburn's schedule, after this week, you look, and I think it's 5 straight, top 25 teams. Obviously LSU and in Georgia, the first 2 SEC games. Those are challenges like you just had, and I think for this team, they now know what to expect, and see how you adjust is the big thing.
And then, Jason, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about Bo Nix. I know there's been some criticism of him since the game, but he also didn't get some help from his receivers. You talked about the lack of separation. There was a couple of drops. I can remember one, and you mentioned it specifically on your podcast, Shedrick Jackson. It looked like a perfect throw from Bo Nix on a 3rd down play. It could have been a huge, big play in the game, but Shedrick kind of lost his feet there.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of those situations. That was one. I think it's a touchdown if he holds this keeps his feet and runs through the ball. It was right there. I thought people were talking about Bo kind of putting too much air on the ball at times. For years, a couple 2 years, people have been saying, well, he needs to put more air into the ball on the deep throws. Well, I think when the guy's not open, you're trying to give him a chance to go up and make a play, and I thought he did some things. But yeah, you listen to Brian Harsin said, look. Basically, he kept saying over and over again, he said it Saturday night, he said it yesterday, the guys around him have to help out. And he said yesterday, the quarterback worries about himself. He can't coach the other 10 guys on offense. And I think that shows you there that they're looking for those other guys to step up and make some plays around both.
No question about it. And then finally, with this Auburn football team, I know it's going to be really working on themselves against Georgia State and of course getting healthier, getting Javarius Johnson back. I know that's big, no doubt about it. But as far as with Auburn and what they've and where they and the progress that they've made, and with Bo, what are you expecting to see on Saturday?
Yeah, if you say, hey, if you're coaching what you do, I would come out and try to throw the football and try to get some confidence in the pass game. You're going to be able to run it, and they'll do that too. But I think it's be a game where you try to work on some red zone throws, try to get crisp in those areas. That'd be the focus for me.
No question. Well, Jason, we always appreciate the time and the knowledge. Let everybody know how they can connect with you and Mark Murphy and all the great folks over at Auburn Undercover and AU Tigers.
Yeah, you can check us out at autigers.com and also follow me on Twitter at ITATJ.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Jason. I'm Jason Caldwell, helping us break down that Auburn-Penn State matchup. Good thoughts there about Brian Harsin and what to do going forward for the Tigers. We've debated a lot about the Alabama Crimson Tide and what they did in Florida, what they didn't do in Florida, what people thought they should have done, what people thought they needed to do in Florida. Aaron Suttles needs to help us break all that down and more when we return. What is ailing Alabama or what is not ailing Alabama?
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Got a wreck at Zert and Grandview. That one's coming in with injuries. East Upper River and Friendship in Morgan County had a tractor involved. No injury reported there. Madison and Lowe had a pedestrian hit in a parking lot. That one reported with injuries. Still working one on County Line north of 72 with some northbound blockage. Dr. Sandman has the easy-to-use Somnodent oral device. It's easy to clean and insurance approved for snoring or sleep apnea. 350-CARE or RandallSandlin.com. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
If you need a car, McCurry Motors is ready to put you in a quality vehicle, and in-house financing is available. If you have a job, McCurry Motors will work with you even if you have a bankruptcy, divorce, or bad credit. Visit McCurrySaysYes.com. Every car comes with a warranty, and they report to the credit bureau. With 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens, call 256-230-0232, or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville. Call 256-713-0575.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AB.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
Are you in the market for a recreational vehicle? Do you want to get out and see more of this beautiful country? Well, imagine hearing the laughter of your little ones enjoying gooey s'mores by a cozy campfire and making lasting memories with your friends and family from the comfort of a new camper. We can make your dreams come true at Hall's RV. With over 15 years in the camping business, we know how to get our customers into the perfect camper. We have several models and floor plans here for you to choose from, both new and used. We're family owned and operated with fantastic deals and great service. Everyone wants to work with people they can trust, so come on down to Hall's RV and get the deal of a lifetime. We'll treat you right and get you on the road in the camper of your dreams. Visit us on Highway 431 in Albertville. Hall's RVs, where we sell fun. Or see us on the web at www.hallsrvsales.com.
Everybody knows the fun begins when you get to the end zone, where you can enjoy half-price apps every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, half-price burgers every Tuesday, plus late-night pizza specials and a spectacular menu that includes jumbo wings, half-pound burgers, Tex-Mex, and an incredible selection of craft beer, and plenty of big-screen TVs. It's all happening at the end zone, 1851 University Drive, 2030 Cecil Ashburn at Jones Valley Station, and coming in early 2022, Mid-City End Zone at 1115 McMurtry next to the Target Shopping Center.
Football season is here.
Javier Arias is going to take it to the house. 80 yards. Touchdown, Alabama.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Join us this afternoon from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
And welcome back to Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And if you head to our Twitter page at 977 ESPN, you'll be able to find our Twitter question. Which of the remaining opponents we listed for are Alabama's toughest on their schedule? And right now, overwhelmingly, the leader in the clubhouse is the Ole Miss game. 13th ranked Ole Miss. 12% say Texas A&M. 9% say Auburn. Still, Drew, ahead of Alabama coming out of the swamp. Going to be a challenging schedule. And Alabama's got a few things that they probably want to clean up on.
No question about it, and who better than to discuss it with our next guest, one of the best in the business and has been for over a decade covering the University of Alabama and is now with The Athletic, which is one of the preeminent, if you talking about the written word, and this man is very gifted in that regard. The Athletic is peerless almost when you come to the writing talent there. And Aaron Suttles is our next guest, and he covers the University of Alabama football program for The Athletic, and he's with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Aaron, hope you had a great weekend. How are you doing? You're with Drew and Scott.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem, Aaron. And I take everything you say very seriously because I trust your opinion and what you see and what you hear. And I thought one of the best tweets you had following your trip to Gainesville was you lauded the Florida crowd. And I know you've been to just about every road venue in the SEC, but that was a special environment Saturday, it sounded like.
I've been to every venue in the SEC, and I've never experienced anything like it. Now, I've been in LSU on a Saturday night. They've been loud. And, you know, it's probably because of the way Florida Field is designed, the Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. It's almost vertical, so that noise sits on top of you. It doesn't escape. That's what made it so loud. The crowd was good. I mean, and it was just deafening, the way the stadium's built. And they were – someone said, I think it was the first time they've hosted the number one team in the country in 19 years. So, I mean, they were frothing at the mouth for this one. And that noise was on top of you from the beginning of the game to the end, which to me makes what Bryce Young did all the more impressive.
And that's a good way to start this conversation. Your thoughts on Bryce Young now? We've seen him 3 games. We've seen him on a neutral field at home, and now in as loud an environment as you're going to hear on the road. What were your thoughts on his performance in that game and so far?
I couldn't be more impressed. I mean, I know it wasn't a perfect performance, and, you know, that game probably goes a little different. Alabama's up 21-3 in the second quarter. If Bryce doesn't take that intentional grounding penalty, Alabama probably goes down and scores again. That game's over. You know, half of Florida Field probably leaves, and that game goes a lot differently. But it didn't. But the fact of him getting a 21-3 lead, because it was loud in the beginning, he didn't phase it. He just went out and put 3 touchdowns on the board. And then in the second half and in the fourth quarter, when his defense could not get a stop, and everyone knew it, he went on long drives. It took time off the clock and led a touchdown drive, and then got the ball back again and went and put him inside the 5 and could have scored another touchdown, ended up with a field goal. To do that in that environment when you had to have it, not much of a running game to speak of. His wide receivers are not getting much separation right now, in my opinion. And he just continues to find ways to win. He put the team on his shoulder. He didn't do it by himself, but his performance is why Alabama won on Saturday.
Talk about the offensive line, their performance. It's getting a lot of attention in the last 48 hours.
It is, and not the good kind. You know, Nick Saban said yesterday, I'm sure you guys heard it during his press conference, he was asked specifically about Darian Dalcourt at center, and I was a little surprised. Nick Saban said he thinks the offensive line's playing pretty well, that they're coming together. I think one thing that is hindering the perception of the offensive line play is it comes a year after maybe Alabama's best offensive line ever. That line last year was so good, and they could do anything. They could pass protect, they could run block. What I see this year is a unit that's fairly, adequate, pretty good at pass protection. although right tackle has been an issue at times. But, good enough to make plays in the passing game. They're just not getting much of a push up front. There's just not a lot of holes for Brian Robinson and Jace McClellan to hit. And those are the only two running backs that played on Saturday. So, Nick Saban has not been a guy, if you look back over history, who's fond of making personnel changes within a season unless injury dictates that. But, I think they have to look at center. I think they have to look at right tackle. And, I don't know if you wait the bye week to do it or what, but you're not getting maybe as good a play as you can. And I think it's hindering the offense a little bit.
Well, and I was mildly surprised, Aaron, that we didn't see Trey Sanders in the game on Saturday.
I was a little too, and I think that what that tells you, Drew, is that when the game is on the line, this is who they trust. And they think they like Trey Sanders, obviously, and they like Roydell Williams. But and Nick Saban said this a lot of times in that environment, especially. You got to have guys in there you can trust, and we all know Trey Sanders can run the football. He's great at that. But if Bryce Young's at the line of scrimmage and he's having to change the play, and the crowd's that loud, do you trust Trey Sanders to change what he's supposed to do and pick up a blocking assignment? I mean, maybe he can, but the coaches felt better with Brian Robinson and with Jason McClellan. That's what that told me. And when it came time, when the game was on the line, this is who they trusted. But I was surprised Trey didn't get any carries. I'm with you.
Aaron, there was also a lot of talk simply on the fact that this team started fast yet again and then kind of, didn't hold attention like it needed to and let Florida kind of get back into this one and finishing. It's like the third week in a row now that we've heard this from Alabama, and we're hearing it from the players that they need to step up, they need to take ownership and finish. Is that a concerning thing?
I think it is. I think it's that competitive character, that coaching cliche that Nick Saban throws out all the time. What does that say about competitive character? Because, listen, and everyone should be thrilled that Alabama's 3-0. I mean, if you're an Alabama fan, you should be happy. But what has Nick Saban told you since 2007? Nick Saban has told you that the scoreboard does not matter, right? That the scoreboard does not matter. Did you dominate the person in front of you for 60 minutes? Can Alabama look itself in the mirror for any of the three games it's played and say we dominated for 60 minutes? They can't. So by Nick Saban's own standard, this team is not living up to that. And I don't know what it is, whether they take the foot off the throat. They were one touchdown away from Florida fans leaving that field to beat the rain, to get out of that heat. It would have been 28-3. Ball game's over, but they didn't hold the attention to detail. I think it's a sign of a team's maturity, a team's discipline. I mean, the fact that Alabama ranked, I think, out of 130 teams in college football, guys, FBS, Alabama ranks like 119th in penalties. I mean, how does that happen? How is and it's not a one-year problem because in 2020 they were like 104th. In 2019 they were 93rd. So it's been a 3-year running problem with penalties, and it doesn't seem to get better. That's discipline. So this team has some issues with maturity and discipline.
And to piggyback off of that, I thought in your column yesterday when you were taking a look at what was concerning for Alabama, and of course you looked at the positives as well, but you were kind of reassessing where they are after 3 games, is the comment Nick Saban made about the defense and them struggling being able to play that speed option. I thought, I'm like you, I thought you can always read more into what Coach Saban is saying if you pay attention, but some of that was very concerning in my opinion, especially with Ole Miss coming up in a couple of weeks.
I couldn't believe he said it, Drew. I mean, I went back and when I was writing that yesterday morning, Nick Saban gets a lot of heat for the way he treats the media, but he says more than any other coach in college football in terms of what he actually says. And the fact that he said, here's what he said: we couldn't stop the option, and we had to abandon other stuff we wanted to do on defense. And I just couldn't believe he said that. One, an adjustment. I mean, they've practiced the option before. I mean, I know it's more involved and more detailed than just, hey, you get the quarterback, you get the pitch guy, but that's what it comes down to. And how do you not rep that with Florida, a one-dimensional team? And how how do you not, at least on the sideline, make some adjustments and teach guys who are very talented? You're not at Alabama on scholarship because you're dumb or because you can't play football. You can't teach the principles that they've repped the option at some point in spring, fall camp. To the point where you abandon what your part of your defensive game plan. I think that's very telling about Pete Golden and that staff, and it's not in a good way. If a team can get you out of your defensive game plan because you didn't prepare for something or you can't make the adjustment, I can only imagine what Lane Kiffin is doing in Oxford right now, looking at just can't wait to get to Alabama's defense.
Yeah, does that make? I mean, should Alabama fans be really nervous in 2 weeks when Ole Miss comes in?
If Alabama can't stop the run any better than it did, they should be worried the rest of the season. Because that was, listen, and I don't want to harp on the negative. Bryce Young was great. There were a lot of positive things. But if you can't stop the run against a one-dimensional Florida team with a quarterback that can't throw the football, and you allow them to go 99 yards down your throat, I thought it was a very disheartening effort for the defense. And, yeah, you should be scared of what Lane Kiffin is preparing to do to that offense. Now, Alabama, has the benefit of seeing at least what he did to them last year on film. But if Marco Helms isn't going to play the ball any better than he's doing, if you're going to get a ton of, pass interference penalties, if you can't stop the run, you have no shot of stopping Matt Corral in that offense. I mean, it could be a scary 50, 60-point game unless the corrections are needed this week and next week heading into Ole Miss, because that has the potential to be a very dangerous game.
And Aaron, and offensively for Alabama, I agree with you. They've been good. Really good, actually, with considering the personnel they've lost. But this is not the explosive group we've seen the last, from 18 to 20 in those 3 years. I don't know that this Alabama offense, last year they could score 70 points. I don't know that you could count on them to win a shootout like that in the 50s and 60s this season.
You can't count on it, no. I think you could last year. I think they still have the capability, because I'm still not sold on Ole Miss's defense being markedly better than last year, and it's just different. I mean, I was talking to a group last night, guys. I can't remember how many yards after catch was Alabama receivers getting this year. I don't remember a lot.
Right.
It seems like they get the ball and they fall down, whereas the last 2 years, Alabama wide receivers made their hay with yards after the catch, and that's partly because they're not getting separation. So when they do catch the ball, it's contested and they get tackled right away. So the explosive play is not there. We don't see the same downfield shots that we've seen with Mack and Tua in the past, although Bryce has gone deep. It's not at the same rate. It's just not as explosive. So I still think you could put points on the board against Ole Miss. It's more of a methodical offense than we're used to seeing the last 2 years, but it's still a very efficient offense. But if you get in a shootout, there's no guarantee you're going to walk away winning.
Yeah, that's true. And last few minutes with Aaron Suttles of The Athletic. One of the other bright moments, though, and I was hunching on this. I had a feeling he was going to be back. But we saw Jaleel Billingsley play a much bigger role, his first featured role. He was only targeted once, but he made a great play. Actually made the play look easier than it was. It was a great throw, but his body control, as I said when he scored, he's a freak because he just has uncommon abilities as a tight end. I have to believe, Aaron, that we're going to see him be a big part of this offense going forward should he continue on the same path he's on now.
He needs to be. And I think, that could be a big weapon for Bryce. I think work in the middle of the field that a tight end traditionally works. I think that's big for the offense. I think it helps open it up a little bit. He's just a mismatched player. So when you get him out there, it's good. And we saw it against Florida. It was an important play. And I would think at this point, if he's on the field earning that role, that he's done what he's needed to do to get back into Nick Saban's good graces. I think it's on him to stay there because it's been an issue. And but Alabama needs him. He's a weapon that you really don't have. A dynamic tight end is very difficult on a defense, and I think that could be part of what's been missing in this Alabama offense the first part of the season.
No doubt about it. And now, as we're wrapping it up with you, Aaron, what are you expecting to see against Southern Miss? This is a tune-up game. I mean, I made a comment earlier. I'm going to put it in the win column. It's Coach Saban would say it's rat poison. But I know they're going to be probably working a little bit on Ole Miss this week. No disrespect to the Golden Eagles, but what do you expect to see Saturday as they try to get ready for Ole Miss?
I expect to see the line of scrimmage have a little pride. I want to see some competitiveness out of the offensive line, out of the defensive line after what they've probably been hearing this week from the coaching staff, from their family and friends, on social media, even what we write, if they read what we write and talk about. I want to see pride. I want to see, did it bother you that Florida punked you? You got bullied up front. You've been challenged. Do you have any pride? And I know it's just Southern Miss, but that's how you start to claim who you are. And I want to see some competitiveness on the line of scrimmage. I want to see Alabama dominate both sides of the line of scrimmage. I think that's important for the psyche of this team going forward.
Really good stuff. Well, Aaron, let everybody know what you got coming up on The Athletic. You've had such good work. Your Trey Sanders piece, of course, your Will Anderson. You always bring interesting perspectives to the Alabama football beat. What have you got coming up on The Athletic?
Yeah, I'm working on a story on just the lack of explosiveness in the passing game. We talked about it a little bit today, Drew, but, the deep shots that have been taken, the yards after catch, the lack of separation, sort of looking into the numbers behind what's going on in the Alabama passing game.
Yes, absolutely. Follow him on Twitter, @Aaron Suttles. Great follow. Does great work for The Athletic. Aaron, thank you so much once again for taking the time to join us here in Huntsville on Talkin' Ball.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. Have a blessed day.
All right, thanks. Aaron Suttles joining us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. We need to step aside when we come back. Tomorrow's headlines today, and they have to do with SEC football, and plus Jordy's in here.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Got a wreck at Zert and Grandview. That one's coming in with injuries. East Upper River and Friendship in Morgan County had a tractor involved. No injury reported there. Madison and Lowe had a pedestrian hit in a parking lot. That one reported with injuries. Still working one on County Line north of 72 with some northbound blockage. Dr. Sandman has the easy-to-use Somnodent oral device. It's easy to clean and insurance approved for snoring or sleep apnea. 350-CARE or RandallSandlin.com. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
We know it's lonely at the top, but we don't mind.
National championship number 18. 13 in all. Absolute perfection.
Roll Tide. Join us Saturday as the Crimson Tide head back to Tuscaloosa for a showdown with Southern Miss. Our coverage begins at 3:30 on your home for Bama football.
Listen to Alabama football all season long on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Wes Neighbors sitting here with Ann Adams. Ann, I understand you have some exciting news.
Yes, Wes, I do. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services was just recognized in the 30th Annual Harris Poll Equitrend as the Real Estate Agency Brand of the Year and the most trusted real estate brand.
That is awesome news, Ann. Great companies in Huntsville, Alabama, winning awards is what we want. Is it a great time to list your home?
Yes, it is. The inventory is low and the market is heating up.
And I understand you're also looking for agents.
I am. We are so busy, Wes, we need agents to keep up with the demand.
Ann Adams and Rise Real Estate has been doing business in North Alabama for the last 35 years. If you want to do business with someone you can trust, she has been writing contracts since she was 9 years old. Call Ann today at 256-337-2625. This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Maybe the air doesn't blow like it should, or it's needing new tires, or you're just ready for something newer. It's time to move up, time to trade up. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your current car or truck is worth more than you know. In fact, we'll buy your vehicle even if you don't trade. We have nearly 100 Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned models to choose from. Our Ford Gold certified or low mileage, gently used vehicles with great warranties. They've passed a 172-point inspection by certified technicians, come with a 24-hour roadside assistance, plus a full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. It's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your vehicle is worth more right now at Woody Anderson Ford. Corner of Jordan Lane and Sparkman Drive. Hope to see you soon.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
A wise man once said, "If you take care of old folks and children, everything in the middle will take care of itself."
Hi, I'm Danny Aldridge, lawyer in Alabama and Tennessee. In the next 20 years, the number of those folks over 65 years of age will more than double. In our golden years, the most important goal is to be treated with dignity and have control over doing what makes you grateful with those you love. At the Aldridge Law Firm and the Legal Town Center, we're dedicated to help you with these goals, and we'll be there when life throws you those inevitable curveballs. Let us assist you with your legal needs, whatever they may be or become. You may reach us by phone at 256-534-3188 or online with Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Just remember, we're here to help. Whether it's personal injury, wrongful death, fraud and cheat, or estate planning made complete, we're here to help.
Hi, this is Wes Neighbors. I'm here with Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Sam, tell the folks about Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Hey Wes, our company Fleming Roofing and Restoration specializes in commercial and residential roofing and repairs. I'm a fifth generation Huntsvillian, and our family's been doing construction business in Huntsville area since 1965.
Sam, what kind of roofs does Fleming Roofing and Restoration do?
Our guys are skilled enough. We can come out and address any kind of leaks or issues you might have on your commercial, on your metal roofing, on your shingles. We can do anything, and we can offer you a solution to repair it, or we can replace it.
Well, you guys also do insurance restoration.
Our staff has 10 plus years of experience as insurance adjusters, and we really do know the inside and out of the claims process at Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Check out Fleming Roofing and Restoration online at FlemingHSV.com, or you can call or text them at 256-651-9440.
Hey Wes, we show up.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online